increase in carjackings, I mean, we saw an increase in the price of used cars and trucks go up by 40%.
We're not just going to be talking about this little bit, but we're also going to be talking about AOC's fail briefly. And we're also going to be explaining this whole thing about the left suddenly wanting to put attractive women on camera to give people the news. So make sure you guys stick around for the full video. You guys very, very briefly saw what was about to be an epic smackdown. Now, guys, I normally don't do videos just straight up smacking down a leftist content creator or whatnot, or even a content creator on the right. Normally, what I do is I take reacting and responding to something very, very stupid that was said, and then turn right back around and tell you what's probably going to happen as a result of it, while providing some additional details on why said person could be wrong or right. Of course, this year we're going to be going more in the direction of full-blown media criticism, but of course we're still doing some essays and still some things that obviously poke more at the media, focusing on the propaganda, especially going here into 2024 and seeing how things are going to get much, much more political, because there's an election year. Of course, these takes are going to be coming out, and of course, a lot more video essays as well. But we got to talk about this person named Jessica Burbank. Now, I have never really done anything on Jessica Burbank, but I do know who she is. Actual Justice Warrior Sean Fitzgerald does a lot of videos debunking TYT's very, very bad takes. I'm going to try to leave this right in the description box, because he actually did a couple of videos debunking her and giving commentary on a, let's just say, a debate that Jessica Burbank did with Styx Hexenhammer. Now, why in the world are we talking about Jessica Burbank? Well, I'm showing you guys some clips right here from a debate that she did do with Styx, and you could probably look at that and tell that this girl, and I'm going to go ahead and say it, it appears that TYT tried to actually follow the Fox News model of bringing in people who, quite frankly, are a little bit easier on the eyes to look at, which I'm going to briefly talk about in this video more so towards the end, and then I'm going to do a full-blown project on it a little bit later on this year, talk about how it is that media companies do, in fact, manipulate. But for the purposes of this video here, we got to talk about carjacking and actually enforcing the law itself, because once again, we also have to talk about the other dopey one, AOC. But before we get there, let's take a look at this, and let's take a look at the first half of this, because obviously Amber Duke, as you guys saw at the very, very beginning, she was about to smack down a very, very bad take. Let's go ahead and roll the first half.
Why are we seeing an increase in carjackings? I mean, we saw an increase in the price of used cars and trucks go up by 40%. That's a very high number. I think people are really struggling to afford cars, and it's really sad, because you see the main contributing factor of this to be markups done by dealers of 35 and 65%, and you see them raking in record profits. So as the price goes up, their profits go up as well. They're not just accounting for, you know, an incurrence of production cost. They're just raising the price as a part of their regular dealership markup, and people are really struggling. They need cars to go get groceries, go to work, what have you.
Now, guys, before we look at what Amber Duke said, and Amber Duke just very, very calmly used some common sense to completely debunk this nonsense. Let's just go ahead and talk about this really quick. So the price of cars. The price of cars have obviously gone up. They're staying up. People can't buy one. There's been this massive push for electric vehicles. There's been this massive green push, which of course has not gone anywhere. The state of California even banned gas-operated vehicles that need oil, you know, that type of stuff there, in favor of electric vehicles. And, of course, it's not working out too well for them. Of course, the ban doesn't fully go into effect till 2030. And they've even banned gas stoves, which, of course, a lot of people still need gas, obviously, to heat their homes. If you get rid of gas and oil, people will eventually, let's just say some bad things could happen, especially given the nature or given the areas they may live at. Obviously, leftists do not understand this, seeing how it is they constantly push to end oil. I mean, we've all seen the Stop Oil protests, where people go out in the street and they begin to protest and go 15 counts of crazy and block everybody's daily lives. Matter of fact, the first video of the day, I actually talked about this. I'll try to link it in the description box for you. So the conversation, however, is about carjackings. And, of course, you heard what Miss Burbank had to say. Oh, people are trying to steal a car because, they're marking them up, they're expensive. Well, there are a lot of reasons why cars are much, much higher in price nowadays. It's not just the inflation. It's not just the push for electronic vehicles, which also makes me wonder how they're going to sell electric vehicles if nobody's got any money. A lot of the things that the left, or at least the Democrats in particular, love to push just doesn't make any sense. There's no real substance. We had the same conversation back in 2012 when the price of gas was going through the roof, and then GOP nominee Mitt Romney did not clarify or did not make the case that the economy was not good. You see, the price of gas is much, much higher. Obviously, you're spending more money per gallon. Therefore, you're spending more money out of your pocket. You know, that money, you need that to obviously pay for groceries and stuff like that, which, of course, Burbank did mention. However, she didn't mention the, let's just say, what's more important. You see, back in 2020, and by the way, TYT, these were supposed to be extremely anti-conservative, anti-Trump people. If they had done their research, then they would know that back in 2020, and I'm a Trump voter and I'm telling you this, Donald Trump, during COVID, signed the National Defense Act, which pretty much, let's just say one of the provisions was that, and I'm not being fully detailed here. There are other content creators who've made more content on this. I'm just giving you guys a heads up here, and I'll be leaving links in the description box for you guys to go check out because this is pretty well common sense. Basically, what happened was is that Ford, Chrysler, U.S. auto manufacturers, GM, they started making ventilators. Now, this act continued through 2021 and even parts of 2022. I don't even know if it's even been removed yet. Just know I'm kind of responding to this, kind of reacting to it. But, of course, we'll probably do another video detailing exactly what happened later on this year. I've already gotten it written down. It's supposed to be a small video set to go out in the future. And when automakers then decided to make these ventilators, of course, a lot of them did not get used. It definitely halted production. So right now, the automotive industry is a little bit behind on the curve as far as getting out vehicles the way they need to get out. Also, you've got a lot of recalls going on. Yeah, that stuff is kind of a pain in the butt. So right off the bat, you already know that vehicles are going to be a little bit, let's just say that they're going to be a little bit higher, at least for the next few years, or at least until the economy itself actually improves, which is something else, too, that completely contradicts the green push. But now to Miss Duke, and now to why the carjackings are occurring. Well, before we get to that, I want to say this really quick. You know, back in the old days, and I understand we've evolved since then, back in the Old West, if you stole a man's horse, it was enough to get you hung. Could you steal somebody's transportation? Now, I'm not saying that people who steal cars need to be shot or anything like that, but there is definitely a lot of crime denial going on there. The guy I talked about at the very, very beginning, Sean Fitzgerald, he has a lot of videos on this debunking a lot of the left's crap. But before we talk more about that, let's go ahead and hear what Ms. Duke has got to say.
Start with the fact, with your point on violent crime. Across the country, yes, violent crime decreased between 2020 and 2023 for a variety of reasons, not least of which being the end of the pandemic. But in major metropolitan cities, violent crime is still up. In fact, in D.C., violent crime is up 39%. Carjackings have doubled, among other metrics. But on the issue of carjackings, the cars are not being stolen because people need cars to go get groceries. The cars are stolen and taken to chop shops where they are then torn apart and sold for profit, or they are taken to use in the commission of other crimes and then dumped elsewhere. So the vast majority of cars that are stolen in the nation's capital are often found later on abandoned, sometimes destroyed, not to mention the fact that a lot of the individuals responsible for these carjackings are, one, repeat offenders.
A lot of these cars are not being stolen just to be stolen. A lot of these cars are being stolen. Well, actually, they are stolen just to be stolen. Kind of a contradiction. They're being moved to chop shops. They're having parts removed. They're also being destroyed. A lot of people's vehicles that they paid for are being destroyed after being stolen by a bunch of low-life criminals who don't have jobs or don't even want jobs or don't even want to contribute to society. This right here has got more to do with actually enforcing the law. If you actually enforce the law, you would not have this problem. After a while of enforcing the law, people after a while get deterred from committing a crime. I mean, I'm all in favor of bringing back the death penalty for certain crimes, even though carjacking is not one of them. But still, at the same time, if you made some actual examples of these people, this stuff would actually stop. So it's got nothing to do with people being poor. It's got to do with people wanting to make some additional money on the side. It's illegal, which is going to bring me back to immigration here in a second. But still, at the same time, this entire take was completely debunked with good old-fashioned common sense. Something else, too, needs to be said, though, about that crime stuff. You see, there's a lot of crime denial out there on the left. You got this one guy named Lance from the Surfs, who Tim Pool absolutely destroyed, who talks about the crime in America is not that bad, yet he lives in Canada, doesn't even live in the United States, only comes down here for debates where he gets absolutely humiliated by said guy, which don't worry, we'll be talking about Tim on Wednesday because he had a very bad take that I need to respond to, which, of course, like I said, that video will be coming out on Wednesday. But then you get to the whole crime numbers itself. Now, a lot of people will tell you that crime itself is actually down, but we do this based upon a 20-year scale, sometimes a 10-year scale, sometimes a 5-year scale, and sometimes the numbers oftentimes get manipulated. For example, the bulk of the crime in the United States occurs in the biggest blue cities. Now, some of these cities, of course, don't get mentioned. For example, we typically tend to look at New York, Chicago, LA. There's a city in Missouri called St. Louis. There's a city in Missouri, Kansas City, that's got pretty high crime rates. They've also got pretty heavy minority communities. Also, the city of New Orleans, Atlanta, Charlotte, my home state, Raleigh, a lot of places like that have pretty high crime rates. Of course, it's not as high as, say, New York or Chicago, but oftentimes overall violent crime gets overlooked because, well, like I said, the bigger cities make up the bulk of it, and sometimes that entire situation gets bogged down. So while crime may be down all the way around, meaning that you're not feeling it in the small town that you live in or the suburban area you live in, you're definitely feeling it in a place like, say, New York City or Detroit or Chicago or LA, which also makes me wonder why in the world you would jack a car, especially seeing how most of the transportation in these cities are, in fact, public. It means there's a lot of nefarious crap going on here, and people are stealing cars to do exactly what Ms. Duke said. They're basically running chop shops, tearing these vehicles apart, basically using the parts, reselling them on the black market, all that type of stuff. The crime denial is absolutely insane and absolutely ridiculous. And we'll be taking a lot more looks at this year, especially when it comes to overall media propaganda, especially said media propaganda that comes from the liberal media industrial complex. And of course, they're using the pro wrestling model to get a lot of their BS out there, a lot of their raw sewage out there. But then that brings us back to the main dopey chick.
All parts of the political spectrum, one of the biggest issues that we have when it comes to immigration is the fact that we have an undocumented population. Now, you can fix that by trying to build a wall, or you can fix that by trying to document people and create a path to citizenship.
Now, guys, I played that same clip for you guys in the earlier video that I released today. Truth is this right here. If you just simply build a wall, if you just simply put up a border wall, chances are it would deter a lot of the immigration. Now, I can already hear somebody saying that most of the immigration is coming in by way of plane, which is a bunch of BS. At least that was up until now. Don't worry, we'll be having this discussion 3 years from now. They'll be saying, well, most of the immigration comes via people flying in. Yeah, because we're flying these people in. We've talked about this in previous videos. Now that right there may in fact be the case. These people are being given first class. These people are also getting benefits that people who live in the irregular cities, minority communities, by the way, are not in fact getting. Which, of course, will be discussed a little bit further on Wednesday when we talk about 2024 as a whole. Because, like I said, there's that guy with the beanie named Tim. He gave an extremely bad take about the 2024 election and Biden being removed from the ballot, which I've already given you guys my thoughts on that one. But I'm going to be reiterating those thoughts and re-explaining why that more than likely won't occur, probably from a different perspective, but still at the same time, once again, here we are debating a bunch of moronical leftists on how things operate. Now, there's something that I, quite frankly, talked about before that I did not get to, and I'm going to go ahead and get to this now because, obviously, I miffed it in the early going. And here it is. How is it that certain news organizations get a hold of people? How is it that certain news organizations get people in the door to watch their content? Looks. Yes, I'm saying it, looks. Fox News. Former CEO Roger Ailes, he understood this very well. He understood that if a woman showed just a little bit of leg, she could get somebody to watch the content. It's the good old-fashioned bubble-headed bleach blonde thing. If you guys heard the song Dirty Laundry by Don Henley, you might know what I'm talking about. You got the bubble-headed bleach blonde that comes on at 5, and she'll tell you about that plane crash with a gleam in her eye. I think that right there is what Jessica Burbank is. I think that was TYT's way of doing that because the left and leftist news organizations typically tend not to produce the most attractive women, unlike, say, networks like, say, Fox News. That right there is the real truth about the model that they use. They want somebody who's actually attractive so that way male viewers will look. Now, for whatever reason, MSNBC likes to use the good old-fashioned hood rats and dregs of whatever they got them from. Mika Brzezinski's not attractive. Joy Reid, we all know she's terrible looking. Andrea Wilson, she's terrible looking. Rachel Maddow looks like Jerry Seinfeld. Fact of the matter is, it's not exactly like they got actually attractive people over there, and CNN's not too much better. Breonna Taylor has got this just real strange, just real, like, tight, iron pants look to her that just, I don't know what it is with that one there. I just can't fully say it out loud. But still at the same time, though, Breonna Iron Pants Kyler, that's just what we're going to call her from now on. They put the least attractive people on, and people don't want to watch their program, whereas with Fox News, they typically tend to put attractive people on, so therefore people will watch. A lot of people who watch TYT, the Young Turks, actually watch for Anna Kasparian. I think so, more so now, because Jink is only good for one thing and one thing only, and that's meltdowns and facial expressions. So why in the world would TYT employ Jessica Burbank? Well, it's pretty obvious, as you guys can see, because she's attractive. People will respond to a woman if a woman is giving them news because they use it to tug at your emotional heartstrings. That's one of the reasons why they do that. However, people nowadays, because of the internet, have gotten much, much smarter, and some people, of course, have gotten much, much dumber, but even a lot of the dumber people are, in fact, waking up. It's funny how it is that millennials just didn't get smart, but yet, for whatever reason, Gen Z, who, by the way, is definitely not smart in the get-go, is starting to become much, much smarter. We'll explain that in future videos as well. People are starting to wake up and see that the propaganda just is not working out. People are starting to figure out how it is that our media manipulates, and this right here is one way to do that. Put an attractive, dopey bitch out there and watch her absolutely lie to you or leave misinformation out. Meanwhile, the smart girl, who, quite frankly, a lot of guys aren't going to look at, even though I'm not saying that Miss Duke is unattractive or anything, but she's definitely a lot smarter than Miss Burbank. In those cases right there, after a while, people will begin to see that the person who's actually correct will begin to resonate, rather than looking at the actual illusion of what is attractive when that said attractive thing just doesn't really have much of a brain. At least the women at Fox News, they're at least on script and they at least have somewhat of a brain. And of course, it kind of goes with the looks that they have. Still, at the same time, it's very, very effective. I just figured I'd come out here and give you guys this video before we go into much, much deeper videos. The video that will be coming out on Wednesday will probably be a relatively lengthy one because I need to go through it piece by piece, explaining why it is that I feel that all this nonsense of removing somebody in 2024 at the Democratic National Convention may just backfire and probably won't even occur. So make sure you guys stick around for that video there. I'm going to be pretty busy on Tuesday writing stuff up, doing research. That's kind of the reason why I'm doing my videos like this, so that way I can get much, much better content out going forward. But make sure you guys let me know what you think in the comment section. I would love to hear what you guys have got to say about the situation. Make sure you guys hit the like button, subscribe, share the video, sound off in the comment section. We'd love to hear what you guys have got to say. And please subscribe. Only about 30% of you guys will subscribe to the channel. So please hit the subscribe button. Please hit the notifications bell. Let's make the content grow. Let's get to 10,000 subscribers this year. See you guys later.